In the summer of 2024, a massive cargo ship, the MV Oceanic Titan, sat dead in the water off the coast of Norfolk, Virginia, its state-of-the-art hybrid propulsion system silent. The vessel, a 1,200-foot behemoth carrying $200 million in goods bound for Rotterdam, was stranded due to a mysterious engine failure that baffled the industry's top engineers. For 3 days, teams of specialists flown in from across the globe pored over diagnostics, manuals, and schematics, unable to pinpoint the issue. The ship's owners, Triton Global Shipping, faced mounting losses with each passing hour, and pressure from international clients was intensifying. Then, a 62-year-old Navy veteran named Clarence Whitaker, a retired chief petty officer with no formal engineering degree, stepped aboard. Within minutes, he identified the problem and restored the ship's engines, leaving the experts stunned and the maritime world buzzing. Clarence Whitaker had spent 25 years in the Navy, serving on destroyers and aircraft carriers, where he earned a reputation for fixing anything mechanical under pressure. Now retired, he lived quietly in Virginia Beach, running a small repair shop for local fishermen. His days were spent tinkering with outboard motors and mentoring young mechanics, his Navy stories shared sparingly over coffee. When Triton's regional manager, a former Navy colleague, called him in desperation, Clarence was skeptical. "I'm no expert on your fancy hybrid engines," he told the manager, his voice gruff but steady. "But I'll take a look." He grabbed his worn toolbox, kissed his wife goodbye, and boarded a tender boat to the stranded Oceanic Titan, unaware that his visit would become a legend in the shipping industry. The ship's engine room was a hive of activity when Clarence arrived. Engineers from Triton's headquarters, a German propulsion firm, and a Japanese tech conglomerate crowded the space, their laptops open and diagnostic tools humming. The hybrid system, combining diesel and electric power, was a marvel of modern engineering, designed for efficiency and reduced emissions. But something had gone wrong during a routine crossing, and the engines had shut down without warning. The lead engineer, Dr. Hans Mueller, a PhD with decades of experience, briefed Clarence brusquely. "We've checked the fuel lines, the electrical grid, and the software. Nothing's wrong, but it won't start," Mueller said, his frustration evident. Clarence nodded, setting his toolbox down. "Mind if I take a look?" he asked, his tone calm but firm. The engineers exchanged skeptical glances. Clarence, in his faded work jacket and steel-toed boots, didn't look like the experts flown in on corporate jets. His weathered hands and unassuming demeanor stood in stark contrast to their polished presentations and advanced degrees. But the ship's captain, under pressure to get moving, gave Clarence the go-ahead. "Do what you can," the captain said, his voice tinged with doubt. Clarence descended into the engine room, his eyes scanning the maze of pipes, wires, and control panels. He didn't touch the laptops or diagnostic screens. Instead, he listened. The room was quiet except for the hum of auxiliary power and the occasional clink of tools. Clarence closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sounds, or lack thereof, guide him. He walked to the main control panel, a sleek interface with digital readouts and blinking lights. The engineers had spent hours analyzing its data, but Clarence ignored it. He knelt beside a secondary fuel pump, a component often overlooked in modern systems reliant on automation. He tapped the casing lightly with a wrench, listening for the telltale resonance of a functioning pump. It was silent. "This your problem," he said, standing up. The engineers frowned. "That pump's been tested," Mueller said. "It's fine." Clarence shook his head. "Tested with your computers, maybe, but it's not moving fuel." He opened his toolbox, pulled out a small pressure gauge, and connected it to the pump's output line. The needle barely moved. "Clogged or seized," he said matter-of-factly. The engineers protested. The pump had been inspected twice, and the system's diagnostics showed no issues. But Clarence was undeterred. He asked for a maintenance log, flipping through pages of technical jargon until he found what he was looking for, a note about a recent fuel switch to a new biodiesel blend. "You changed fuel types 3 weeks ago," he said, pointing to the log. "This pump's not rated for that viscosity." Mueller's face reddened. The manufacturer assured us it was compatible, he said. Clarence shrugged. Manufacturers say a lot of things. Let's open it up. He grabbed a wrench and, with the precision of a surgeon, began disassembling the pump. The engineers watched, some skeptical, others curious. Inside the pump, Clarence found what he suspected, a buildup of residue from the biodiesel, gumming up the impeller and blocking fuel flow. The high-tech diagnostics hadn't flagged it because the system was designed to monitor electrical and software metrics, not mechanical wear. Clarence cleaned the impeller, replaced a worn seal from his toolbox, and reassembled the pump in under 15 minutes. Try it now, he said, stepping back. The captain hesitated, then signaled the crew to restart the engines. A low hum filled the room, followed by the steady rumble of the propulsion system coming online. The engineers stared, dumbfounded, as the ship's systems powered up flawlessly. The Oceanic Titan was alive again. Word of Clarence's fix spread quickly. The captain shook his hand, apologizing for his initial doubt. Mueller, still processing the moment, asked, "How did you know?" Clarence's answer was simple. "I listened to the ship. Machines talk if you know how to hear them." He explained that his Navy years taught him to trust his instincts over fancy tech. On carriers, where a single failure could cost lives, he'd learned to spot issues that computers missed. The biodiesel residue was a problem he'd seen before, on smaller boats in a shop. "New fuels are great until they aren't," he said. "You gotta check the basics." By the time Clarence returned to shore, the story was already making waves. A crew member had posted about it on a maritime forum, and trade publications picked it up. Navy Vet School's experts on stranded ship read one headline. Triton issued a statement thanking Clarence and announcing a review of their maintenance protocols. The German and Japanese firms quietly updated their diagnostic software to account for fuel viscosity issues. Clarence, uncomfortable with the attention, declined most interviews but agreed to a brief statement for a local paper. "I just did what I've always done," he said. "Fix what's broken." The fallout was significant. Triton stock, which had dipped during the crisis, rebounded after the ship resumed its journey. The company hired Clarence as a consultant, tasking him with training their mechanics on practical troubleshooting. Maritime regulators launched an inquiry into why the industry's reliance on automated systems had overlooked such a simple fix. The incident sparked a broader debate about balancing technology with hands-on expertise. Universities invited Clarence to speak, but he preferred a shop, where he continued mentoring young mechanics, emphasizing the value of intuition and experience. Clarence's life didn't change much. He still rose at dawn, worked on boats, and shared stories with his regulars. But the Oceanic Titan incident left a mark on the industry. Shipbuilders began incorporating manual overrides in their hybrid systems, and training programs emphasized mechanical basics alongside digital skills. Clarence's name became a quiet legend, a reminder that sometimes the most complex problems have the simplest solutions, if you know where to look.